Hi guys, welcome back. Today I'm doing a voiceover and it's my first one, so please bear with me. I wanted to talk about what happens when you're drawing but things are not going the way you want to, because it can be a very hard thing to maneuver. For this particular drawing, my biggest problem it was that I couldn't make it look like Giselle, and it's for many reasons. I am not used to drawing Giselle. I think I've drawn her once or twice before, once for sure, but it was in a more stylized way, and I was having a lot of trouble making it look like Giselle. I was so close to giving up, but at the same time, I wanted to push myself. I'm going to walk through my process while we watch this video together, but I had to make a very important decision halfway through the sketching part. So while we wait for things to go down, let's talk about the whole concept of creating, right? In this case, if you do something like I do, which is fan art of real people, you obviously want your drawings to look like the model. And if you're like me, there will be days that things click really easily and you are able to capture the model's features really easily. And there are days that you keep on trying and they look off, which is what happened to me today. Well, not today, when I was drawing this a couple weeks ago. And if you're also like me and you film the process, it can also be very hard on yourself because you are performing. I was not drawing for the sake of drawing when I was painting Giselle. I was very conscious of the fact that I had my phone filming me. And even if it's just your phone, you know that certain people are going to watch this in the end. And you start trying to be better in a not very healthy way. That's why most of the times I don't post the sketching process, just because, first of all, sketching is my favorite thing to do, and it's when I shut down my brain the most. I feel like I'm divagating a lot, so I don't know how much of my speech I'm going to end up putting in the video, but yeah, bottom line is that a lot of times we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, either because we are very hard and critical of the things that we create and we are perfectionist or things like that, or the pressure of posting online, or the pressure that someone is watching us create something. And it can be probably the biggest reason why we're having a bad art day. But again, a lot of things go to that. Not being well rested, stress going around in our lives. In the end, we are humans, and even though there are things that we should know how to do or that we've done 1,000 times before, if we are not feeling well, it's gonna read in one way or another. And sometimes it's very visible in our art. let's talk a little bit about the actual drawing now. As you can see, I was having a little bit of trouble. The drawing itself is not bad. The problem is that it doesn't look like Giselle. So what I started doing is trying to map things out with the shadows and the highlights. Still, I started having a lot of trouble with her features. I was trying to measure and have guidelines. I don't have that many guidelines in my drawings themselves because I grew accustomed not to use them. And now, if I use them, I don't know how to properly draw. I remember my design teacher back in high school. He told me that when you draw a lot, you end up measuring with your eyes, and that's what I ended up doing. But you can see that sometimes I do, put some guidelines or measure with the pencil. Also, you saw me use the Liquify tool, and I've never been a huge Liquify person and fan, but lately it has been very nice because when you draw things over and over and over again and they still don't click, Liquify tool is a pretty good tool to use because it just shifts the lines basically. So if you're having trouble having your hand draw a line, because sometimes it doesn't matter how much you measure things, your hand won't do exactly what your brain wants it to do, Liquify tool is a good way to change those things. Things weren't working, so I ended up moving to the dress. Also, sorry, Gigi. I was getting so fed up with the face and I needed a breather, so I ended up moving on to the body, trying to see if that break would be good for my eyes. Sometimes we start looking at something so much that we know something is off, but we can't see what it is. And it kind of helped. I ended up changing more things like the nose, and it's gonna look a little bit off, but in the end, it kind of looks better. Also, if you look closely, you would have seen that there was a little bit of a jump and Giselle now looks a little bit different. That's because I did take an actual break from filming. I was like, okay, I'm gonna turn off my phone, I'm going to log in, and I'm going to try to make it a little better. And I did. And then I sent it to my friend. I was like, okay, things are not working. This is how far I've gotten. I'll come back to it later and I'll change a little bit more. I did not stop. Sorry, I lied. I touched it a little bit more, but now I'm going to rest for a bit. And actually, I ended up getting closer to how Giselle looks. But also, that break was what made me realize that I had to push forward no matter what. And by that I mean what I had to do was keep going even if it doesn't look like Giselle. I was determined to make a drawing that it was good, even if it doesn't fully look like the model. And that way, I would take off a little bit of the pressure of making it look like Giselle. I was actually trying to get her to look as much as I could like Giselle, but I was not beating myself up if it was not looking exactly like her. I kind of shifted my mind into making Giselle fan art to Giselle inspired fan art, and that helped a lot. Sometimes you have to give up on, maybe making it look like the person and just try to make art, even if it doesn't look exactly like them. It can still be a good looking piece of art. It can be a good drawing no matter what. And that's also one of the reasons why I actually wanted to post this video. In fact, halfway through sketching, I was so ready to delete all the footage that I had till that point. I was thinking there's no way for me to post this. I can't post this. It's not going well. And then it hit me, like, I can post this because there's many other artists that are in this same situation, and maybe they feel like they're doing something wrong, and it's not that you're not doing something wrong. It's just, again, so many factors that go into being able to draw something more effectively. It's not even drawing well or bad, it's just more effectively or not. So I decided to keep it real and be like, hey, this is the reality for everybody. I'm not only going to post the good parts. I'm not going to only post the easy drawings. There are so many things that can go to having an easy time drawing. If you are familiar with a model, your brain in the end is like a sponge, so it will kind of build muscle memory for that person. That's kind of what happens to me with, for example, Tan from Stray Kids. I draw him maybe too much. So drawing him usually is easier for me, but still there's days that I can't draw him. I try so much and it just doesn't work. So never beat yourself up too hard for that. Just keep going. Again, in my blog last year I posted about keep going on drawings, but don't feel bad if you have to stop a drawing and like discarding it, throw it in the bin. There should always be balance with art. In a little bit there will be a new thing that I've been trying out that I saw online, but for the most part the painting process is basically what I always do. This jump is day 3 of painting. Also good to know that I don't do things in one sitting most of the time. So as you can see, I ended up painting the hair, the body, and the dress on my own time. Also, since I knew that this video was not going to be a draw with me, and it was probably going to be a sit down and let's talk about art blogs and bad art days, I decided to, keep it for myself and just draw without any pressure and paint without any pressure. Here I was trying to give it a little bit of like a blue hue to the shadows to give the skin a little more depth. And then I remember this trick that I saw online, which is like doing this weird zigzag motion on curves, put it in color, and then play a little bit with the hue, saturation, and all that jazz. Erase the part that you don't really like the colors. It's a way to give the drawing a little bit more, like, I don't know, dynamic, I guess. That's the thing that I was talking before about, that I tried it in one drawing before and I never really did it again. And I thought this drawing would be the perfect opportunity, since I was already just trying things out and drawing without any type of premise except drawing. Also, this time I've been going back to just use my normal brush, the brush that I use for basically everything. For also the hair, for a while I've been using the hair brushes from Ocean of June. But I don't know, I've been trying to go back to try to render with a normal round brush, and I don't know, I've been enjoying it somehow. I probably will go back and forth between the two rendering brushes, just because I feel like it will depend a lot on the style for this Giselle, since I was already not very focused on making it look like Giselle and just make a pretty drawing. I kind of went with the normal round brush for it. And the thing is that it kind of looks like Giselle, if you have the picture, you're like, yeah, kind of, not really. But if you see the drawing online and you see the Espa tag, you can totally tell that that's Giselle. Sometimes we are so hard on ourselves for stupid things. Is this the most perfect, most accurate Giselle drawing ever? No. No, not even close. But there's enough Giselle in the features that it makes it a Giselle drawing. You know what I mean? So bottom line for this video is that keep going forward with your drawings, even though things might not be going in the direction that you were expecting. And if after many tries you cannot make things work, maybe change the focus, maybe just draw for the sake of drawing instead of having a goal. And sometimes it's also, valid to say, hey, I'm going to delete this. I don't want to keep working on this. That's also valid, but I always encourage trying to finish the piece, even if, the goal is different, even if the goal is not to make it exactly like the reference picture or something like that. Sometimes you can be very surprised with the results, and a lot of times those drawings end up being some of your favorites, not because of the art itself, but because you work your hardest, you gave it your 100%, and hey, at the end of the day, you ended up having a pretty drawing on your archive, and that's always cool. I hope this video somehow helped you, and till the next time.